Let me ask you a question. Have you ever stood in a room packed with people? Loud laughter everywhere, the sound of glasses clinking, but you felt like a total ghost. You look around and wonder, why does everyone else have their own squad? How can they talk about the weather for 20 minutes without getting bored out of their minds? And me, why am I standing here just wishing I could go home and feed my cat? If you've ever felt like that and wondered if you're somehow glitching or broken, this video is for you. Today, we're not talking about hacks to get famous or how to get 1,000 friends on Facebook. We're going to tell a story. A story about Benjamin, a man who thought he was the world's biggest failure just because he preferred quiet over noise. And believe me, by the end of this story, you'll realize that having few friends isn't a curse. Sometimes it's a superpower you just haven't activated yet. Let's dive in. Once upon a time, in a small village called Oakhaven, where rolling green hills hugged lazy rivers, lived a man named Benjamin. Benjamin was a good guy. He didn't steal his neighbor's chickens, didn't badmouth anyone behind their back, and always returned his library books on time. But Benjamin had a problem, at least by Oakhaven standards. He didn't have friends, or rather, he didn't belong to any clique in the village. In Oakhaven, everything ran on herd mentality. Every afternoon, villagers gathered in the town square. They stood in circles, laughing loudly, slapping each other on the back, and talking about, well, nothing important. They talked about the price of flour, about Farmer Miller's cow wandering off again, or how today seemed slightly cloudier than yesterday. Benjamin was different. Whenever he walked past that crowd, he'd keep his head down and speed walk toward his small house at the edge of the village. He didn't hate them, he just didn't know what to say. The villagers started whispering. You know, that kind of whisper everyone can hear. "Look, it's Benjamin again," the baker whispered to the blacksmith. "He never smiles. Something's definitely wrong. The guy's like a shadow." "Right," the blacksmith nodded, gripping his massive hammer. "A man with no friends is a man you can't trust. He's probably plotting something shady." In reality, Benjamin's only shady plot was going home, brewing a hot cup of tea, and reading by the window. But those whispers, they felt like needles in his heart. Every night, Benjamin sat by his window, watching the distant lights from the square, wondering, why am I like this? Why can't I be like them? Am I broken? It felt terrible. It wasn't just loneliness, it was shame. Benjamin felt like a toy that had been assembled with missing parts at the factory. One day, the village summer festival rolled around. This was mandatory. If you didn't show up, people assumed you were dead or had moved to the next town. Benjamin decided this was his last chance to fix himself. He put on his best shirt, combed his hair, and stepped into the square with determination. Today, I will fit in. I will be normal. He approached a laughing group. "Hi, everyone," Benjamin said, forcing a smile he'd practiced in the mirror. "The weather, is nice, right? The clouds are very white." Everyone turned to look at him. A silence lasted 3 seconds, but felt like 3 centuries. Then, a man burst out laughing. "Oh, Benjamin, you finally spoke. Come on in. We were just talking about how old Joe's wagon wheel broke." Benjamin let out a breath. He was accepted. He sat down. But the joy was short-lived. As he sat there, he noticed something strange. They were laughing together, but the second someone left to get more beer, the rest immediately lowered their voices to trash talk them. "That guy," one whispered. "He still owes me 2 silver coins from last year." "And his wife?" another added. "I heard her cooking his garbage." Benjamin felt his chest tighten. These words, they were hollow and fake, He wanted to talk about other things. He wanted to ask, "Do you guys ever look up at the stars and wonder who we are?" Or, "How did the last book you read change your life?" But he knew if he asked that, they'd look at him like he'd just grown a second head. They didn't want deep connection. They wanted distraction. They wanted noise to fill the silence. After an hour of fake smiling and nodding at pointless stories, Benjamin felt drained, literally drained, like he'd just run a marathon. He stood up, apologized, and quietly left. A voice rang out behind him. "See? I told you. He thinks he's superior to us. That's why he's leaving early." Benjamin heard it, but this time he didn't turn back. He walked home in the dark, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel guilty. He whispered to himself, "I'd rather be alone than be around people who make me feel even lonelier." But the story didn't end there. Benjamin still didn't fully understand himself. He still thought his social exhaustion was some kind of biological defect. Weeks later, an old traveler passed through the village. He had a long white beard and eyes bright as stars. He saw Benjamin sitting alone by the river, skipping stones across the water. The traveler sat next to him, saying nothing for 10 minutes. It was the most comfortable 10 minutes Benjamin had ever spent with a stranger. Finally, the traveler spoke. "You're not like the others, are you?" Benjamin looked down, his voice sad. "No, sir. I wish I was. I'm broken. I just don't have the energy to do what normal people do." The traveler smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. "Why would you want to be like them? Imagine this, Benjamin. In that forest, there are wolves that live in packs. They hunt together, sleep together, loud and chaotic. But there are also eagles. Eagles fly alone, not because they are sad, but because the sky is too thin to hold a crowd. You aren't broken. You're just an eagle trying to learn how to bark like a wolf." Benjamin looked up, eyes wide. "But why do I feel so tired around them?" "Because your mind works differently," the traveler explained. "Some people get energy from crowds. They need noise to feel alive. But you are deeply introverted. You feel everything more intensely. A shallow conversation for you is like eating plastic food. It doesn't nourish you, it just makes you choke. You need depth, not quantity." In that moment, a 1,000-pound weight was lifted off Benjamin's shoulders. He wasn't sick. He wasn't broken. He was simply different. And that difference had a scientific name, not just weirdo. From that day on, Benjamin stopped trying to fix himself. He stopped forcing himself into gossip circles at the square. Instead, he started building what the philosopher Montaigne called the back shop of his soul. He spent time tending to his garden. He read every book in the library. He learned to enjoy the silence. He realized that when he was alone, he wasn't lonely. He had himself for company. He started feeding the good wolf in his soul, the wolf of peace, creativity, and self-respect, rather than the wolf of jealousy and insecurity. The villagers still whispered, but Benjamin didn't hear them anymore. He was too busy with his rich inner world. He realized that solitude is a luxury that not everyone can enjoy. Solitude is choosing to be alone to recharge. Loneliness is craving connection but not having it. Benjamin had shifted from lonely to enjoying his solitude. But the real magic happened that autumn. A young carpenter named Elias moved to the village. Elias wasn't loud either. He was quiet, hard-working, and loved walking in the woods. One afternoon, while Benjamin was reading by the river, Elias walked by. He didn't rush over to slap Benjamin's back or ask about the weather. He just stood there, looked at the river, and said, "That book, is that Journey to the Center of the Earth?" Benjamin was surprised. "Yes. Have you read it?" Elias nodded. "Yeah. I like how the author describes the silence in the caves better than the noise on the surface. Just that one sentence. A connection. Not about bread, not about lost cows, but about the meaning of silence." They sat down and talked. Not the fake, polite kind of talk. They spoke for 2 hours. They talked about dreams, about fears, about why humans hurt each other. For the first time in years, Benjamin talked without feeling drained. Instead, he felt energized. Benjamin realized a truth he'd missed his whole life. I don't need 100 friends to feel valuable. I just need one real friend, someone who speaks my language. Time passed, and Benjamin and Elias became close friends. They didn't meet every day. They didn't need to like each other's photos or text constantly, but they knew the other was always there. They respected each other's space, that polite distance Schopenhauer called the porcupine dilemma, close enough to keep each other warm, but far enough not to prick each other with the quills of intrusion. The villagers of Oakhaven slowly changed their attitude toward Benjamin. They saw him smile more, though it was a gentle, private smile. They saw his confidence. They started to respect his quiet nature. Some even started coming to him when they needed deep advice, rather than the hollow words found at the tavern. Benjamin still spent most of his time alone, but now it was a choice, not an escape. He understood that having few friends isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of selection. It's a sign of someone who knows how to protect their energy and only gives it to those who are worthy. Benjamin's story ends there, but yours is still going. If you're watching this video and feel like Benjamin at the start of the story, lonely, out of place, thinking you're broken, please listen to me. You are not broken. You are a work of art that needs to be understood, not a tabloid newspaper meant for everyone to read. Having few friends might just mean you value quality over quantity. Science shows we need about 200 hours together to turn a stranger into a close friend. You have few friends because you don't want to waste those precious 200 hours on people who don't cherish your soul. That is intelligence, not failure. Society might tell you, the more the merrier, but the reality is, the more the messier, if it's not your tribe. Remember the story of the 2 wolves? Don't feed the wolf of insecurity and envy. Feed the wolf of self-respect and peace. Go ahead and be the eagle. Build your own back shop, a place where you can read, draw, or just sit still and breathe. And then, on a beautiful day when you least expect it, a real friend, your own Elias, will show up. They won't ask you to change. They will cherish your silence just as much as your words. Until then, be your own best friend. Because if you don't enjoy being with yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? If this story touched you, leave a comment below. Are you a wolf or an eagle? Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories to help heal the scratches on your soul. Thanks for listening. You're not alone. You're just waiting for a real connection. See you next time.